chosen one. Tonight, we are going to talk about what God calls a serious investigation. Your ex has no idea that it has already begun. You woke up one morning to a realization that was too heavy to carry. It did not hit you like a sudden, violent storm that clears the air. It came like a slow, freezing rain that sinks deep into the earth. The realization that once shared your life with, someone you trusted with your history, someone you trusted with your deepest vulnerabilities and your silence, was no longer just an ex-partner. They had become something else entirely. They had become a prosecutor, a hostile witness, and an active, aggressive force trying to demolish everything you are. The shock of that realization did not leave you quickly. It sat in your chest like lead, making it hard to take a full breath. You remembered the times you sat at the table with them, laughing, sharing coffee on a quiet Sunday morning, sharing dreams about a future that now feels like a ghost, sharing the quiet details of your childhood that you had never told another soul. Now you are watching those same details being weaponized against you. You are seeing the secrets you whispered in confidence being shouted from the rooftops. It feels like a violation of the sacred. It feels like the ultimate betrayal. They began a systematic, deliberate campaign of taking your words and rewriting them. They took your mistakes, those small human mistakes that happen in any relationship, and they scaled them up. They painted them in dark, exaggerated colors. They wanted to make sure those mistakes looked like monstrous, unforgivable crimes. They did not just choose to leave your life and go their own way. They wanted to ensure that when they left your life in complete ruins. They wanted to leave nothing behind but ash. They wanted to make sure that no one else would see you as worthy. They wanted to make sure that no one else would believe your side of the story. So they began to talk. They began to whisper in the corners of your social circle. They began to contact mutual friends, acquaintances, and family members. They began to build a wall of opinion around you, hoping to isolate you, hoping to make you feel completely alone in the world, hoping that you would look around and see no one standing with you. Think about the quiet Friday nights when the house was finally still. The rest of the world was asleep, and the only light in your room was the cold blue glow of your phone. You sat there on the edge of your bed, unable to sleep, staring at the screen, your heart racing and your stomach sinking into a deep, hollow ache. You were looking at a screenshot that a mutual friend had forwarded to you with a brief message. Thought you should see this. I don't know what's going on. It was a text message from your ex, sent to someone you respect, someone whose opinion matters to your career or your community. And the message was written with a precision that chilled you to the bone. It was not an outburst of raw anger. It was not an emotional rant that anyone could dismiss as simple venting. It was cold and calculated. It was an attempt to poison the well before you could ever walk to it. You saw the names of people from your past being pulled into the story. People who had nothing to do with the breakdown of the relationship. You saw old conversations you thought were private, thought were safe forever being dragged out, edited, and displayed for others to judge. You saw yourself being painted as the unstable one. They painted you as the toxic one, the person who caused all the pain and confusion. And you felt the immediate, violent urge to defend yourself. You felt a screaming need to explain, correct the record, and fight back. You wanted to call every person they had texted. You wanted to show your own screenshots, the full conversations. You wanted to prove your innocence to the world. You sat up until 3 a.m, drafting messages in your notes app, writing paragraph after paragraph, refining the details, explaining every detail, correcting every lie, defending your character. Your thumb hovered over the send button. Your chest was tight and your breathing was shallow and fast. But something stopped you. A quiet whisper in your spirit, a subtle resistance that made you pause. And you deleted the draft. You put the phone face down on the nightstand. You lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering whether staying silent meant letting them win, and whether your silence was a sign of weakness. C.S. Lewis, in his profound work The Four Loves, wrote something we must remember. Love, having become a god, becomes a demon. Think about that. When the affection that once bound you to this person turned sour, it did not simply vanish into thin air. It did not leave a clean, empty space. It curdled. It spoiled. It transformed into a distorted, obsessive need to control your image. Because they could no longer control you, they decided to control how everyone else sees you. Their hatred is not the opposite of their old love. It is the rotten, decaying corpse of it. They cannot stand the fact that you survived their exit. They cannot stand the fact that you are still standing. So they try to pull you down into the dirt where they are living. They want to force you to play their game. They want to force you to use their weapons. But I want to show you a different picture tonight. I want to reframe the chaos you are watching. What you are seeing is not a display of power. It is a display of absolute, desperate panic. They are threatening you. They are talking to everyone. They are reaching out to your past, not because they are strong and victorious, but because they know their version of the story is built on sand. They are terrified of what happens when the light shines on the foundation. They know the truth of what they did in the dark, and they are running out of time. The urgency of their attack is the evidence of their fear. Their noise is their confession. They are trying to destroy you because they know they cannot survive your exposure. They know that when God investigates, the truth will stand. If you can feel the truth of this shift tonight, if you are ready to step out of their courtroom, comment justice below. Let this declaration stand. Let the spiritual realms know. You are no longer defending yourself in a court that has no authority over you. You are handing the case to the one who sees it all, chosen one. While you were sleeping, while you were trying to heal, and slowly putting the broken pieces of your heart back together, there was a silent gathering taking place. It was not a meeting organized by your ex. It was not a circle of whispers designed to find new ways to hurt you. It was a gathering in the courts of heaven. You see, every time you chose not to respond to their attacks, every time you swallowed your anger, held your breath, and chose the high road, you were not losing the battle. You were allowing the evidence of their character to accumulate in the divine ledger. Every text message they sent to poison others against you, every fabricated story they told to make themselves look like the victim, every phone call they made in the dark hours of the night was being recorded, not because God was waiting to find a reason to condemn them, but because God is a God of justice. And He does not allow the innocent to be defamed forever. Your silence was not passive. It was the active permission for the court of heaven to take over your case. Have you ever wondered why they cannot let you go? Have you ever wondered why, months or even years after the door was shut, they still check your profile? Do they still search for your name late at night? Do they still bring you up in conversations with people they barely know? They contact mutual acquaintances, pretending to be casual, asking, "So how are they doing?" Have they found anyone else? Hoping to hear that you are struggling, hoping to hear that your life is falling apart without them, hoping to receive some confirmation that they broke you. And when that acquaintance says, "Actually, they seem very peaceful, they are doing great," it strikes them like a physical blow. It is because your peace is a mirror that shows them their own chaos. They cannot stand the fact that you are moving on without their permission. They need you to be angry. They need you to lash out, to react, to defend yourself. Because as long as you are fighting them, you are validating their narrative. You are giving them the proof they need to say, "See, I told you they were the crazy one." Your peace is a threat to their entire identity. When you stay quiet, when you go to work, When you smile, when you worship, it drives them mad, because it proves that their presence in your life was not the source of your light, and their absence cannot extinguish it. They are obsessed with you because they are trying to convince themselves that they still matter. Lies are very loud, but they are also incredibly heavy. When someone builds a reputation on a foundation of falsehoods, they have to work 24 hours a day to maintain it. They have to remember exactly who they told what. They have to constantly check if the stories align. They have to spend their energy keeping the facade from cracking. They think they are powerful because they've convinced a few people in the short term, but they are actually slaves to their own deception. They are living in a prison of their own making, constantly looking over their shoulder. A single truth spoken at the divine moment will collapse their entire structure, and they know it. That is why they are so loud. They are trying to drown out the sound of their own crumbling foundations. They are trying to convince themselves of their own lies. This is not just a human conflict, chosen one. This is not about an ex-partner who is simply bitter or hurt. There is a spiritual agent behind their actions. The accuser of the brethren has recruited them as an instrument of distraction. The goal is not just to ruin your reputation. The goal is to ruin your destiny. The enemy wants you focused on the dirt they are throwing at you, so you never look up at the crown God is preparing for you. If the enemy can keep you defending yourself, he can keep you from building what God has called you to build. He wants you to spend your emotional energy in their courtroom, so you have nothing left for the calling on your life. Every minute you spend arguing with a liar is a minute stolen from your future. Recognize the trap for what it is. It is not an attack on your character. It is a distraction from your calling. So hear this today, chosen one. The investigation in the Spirit is serious and it is active. God is not standing by, doing nothing, ignoring your tears. He has heard every prayer you whispered in the dark. He has seen every tear that fell on your pillow when you thought no one was looking. He is watching every text, every post, every whispered lie. And He is telling you today, stand still and see my salvation. Your reputation is not in the hands of your ex. It is not in the hands of the people they have managed to deceive. It is in the hands of your Father, and He is about to close the case. Chosen one. Let us talk about the structure of what they built, because what your ex did was not simply venting pain. It was not impulsive anger that spilled out of a wounded heart. It was architecture. It was engineered deliberately and methodically, like a building being constructed brick by brick. Let me walk you through what they actually did. First, they chose their audience carefully. They did not walk into the town square and shout your name for everyone to hear. That would have been too obvious and too easy to dismiss. Instead, they went to the people who matter most to your sense of belonging, your mutual friends, the colleagues who hear your name in meetings, and the family members who carry lifelong loyalty to your circle. They selected each target with the precision of a surgeon. They chose people who would feel the most conflicted, those who love you but also feel obligated to hear both sides. Second, they framed themselves as the reluctant messenger. They did not approach these people with obvious anger. They approached with a carefully constructed posture of concern and sadness. They said things like, I just want you to know, in case it ever comes up, I have been carrying this for so long, and I just needed to tell someone I trust. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just feel like the truth needs to come out. They wrapped the poison in the packaging of compassion. They dressed the assassination in the costume of vulnerability. Third, they mixed the truth with the lie. This is the most dangerous part. They did not fabricate everything from scratch. A completely fabricated story is easy to disprove. Instead, they took real events that truly happened, and they twisted the context, the sequence, and the motive beyond recognition. They said, "Remember when they did this? And yes, you did do that." But they left out what was happening before. They left out what they said that made you react. They left out the years of grace you extended before you finally had enough. They left out the ways you tried to repair what they were destroying. The partial truth is the most wicked form of dishonesty because it gives the listener enough reality to believe the lie. This is where C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, gives us a devastating insight. He wrote, "The descent into moral corruption is always gradual. A man does not simply decide one day to become thoroughly dishonest. He takes one small step, then another, telling himself each time it is for a good reason." Think about that. Your ex did not wake up one morning as a fully formed villain. They began small, excusing one minor exaggeration, and then another. Then they began to believe their own revised version of events. Now they have told the story so many times, in so many rooms, to so many people, that they have convinced themselves it is the truth. They are not just lying to others, they are lying to themselves. And that is what makes their situation spiritually catastrophic, because God is not only watching what they are saying, He is watching the condition of their soul as they say it. And He sees the moment they cross the line, from wounded to weaponized. He sees the moment their pain became a strategy and their sadness became a deliberate campaign. And that moment is in the divine ledger. But let us go further into the mechanics of the smear campaign, because there is a fourth element, the recruited messengers. These are people your ex recruited to carry the campaign on their behalf, believing themselves to be noble allies, standing up for a wounded victim. These people begin repeating second-hand information as though it were first-hand testimony. They become messengers carrying a story they never witnessed. Soldiers fighting in a war they do not understand. Some of them will come to you. They will show up at the edges of your life with questions, cold looks, and sudden distance where there was once warmth. You will feel the shift in the energy before you understand what happened. You'll notice that someone who used to greet you with open arms now gives you a short, careful nod, and your stomach will drop. But hear this truth. Every person they recruited into this campaign is also a witness. Every conversation they initiated, every DM they sent, every phone call they made becomes another thread in a tapestry that God is watching take shape. They think they are building a case against you. They do not understand that they are building a case with your name on the label but God's signature on the file. Here is what God does when He allows this to continue. He is not being passive. He is not distracted by other concerns. He is gathering. He is allowing the accuser to file every document. He is allowing them to build out the narrative in full. He is letting them call every witness, submit every piece of evidence, because the day the court of heaven convenes, every piece of evidence they filed will be examined under the divine microscope. And every distortion, every exaggeration, every partial truth, every outright lie will be visible. Under the light of God's perfect knowledge, nothing can be hidden. The very architecture they built to destroy you will collapse inward, and the rubble will bury their credibility. If you can feel this truth opening up in your chest right now, if something in your spirit is rising with the recognition of divine justice, type GODCs in the comments. Let it be an act of faith. Let it be your declaration that you trust the investigation is already underway, that you are not in this courtroom alone, that the most powerful witness in the universe has already taken the stand on your behalf. Chosen one. There is a question that has been sitting at the bottom of your chest. You have prayed it quietly. You have whispered it in the dark when the pain was too heavy to carry into a proper conversation. The question is this: God, why did you let it go this far? Why did you let them hurt me this deeply? Why are you allowing them to continue? I want to sit with you in that question tonight. I do not want to rush past it. I do not want to give you a polished theological answer that slides off the surface of the real weight you are feeling. What they did was not small. The wound is not superficial. The damage to your name, your relationships, your sense of safety in community, it is real. And God knows it is real. He is not asking you to pretend it does not hurt. He is not asking you to paste a smile over the wound and call it healed. What He is asking you to do is something far harder. He is asking you to trust the process that looks like silence. He is asking you to trust the investigation that looks from the outside like nothing is happening. C.S. Lewis, in his profound and painful book, The Problem of Pain, wrote, "Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is His megaphone to rouse a deaf world." Do you hear that? Your pain is not punishment. Your pain is His megaphone. He allowed the wound to go deep enough that you would stop running from the questions. You were living at a certain speed before this happened, a speed that kept the important things blurry, a speed that allowed you to stay busy, stay distracted, stay in the comfortable shallows. And then this happened, and it forced you to stop. It forced you into a stillness you never would have chosen for yourself. And in that stillness, God began to speak, not about your ex, not about the campaign they were running, but about you, about the fears you had been carrying long before they arrived in your life, about the patterns that made you vulnerable in the first place, about the calling that had been waiting beneath all the noise. You see, chosen one, God did not allow this trial because He forgot about you. He allowed it because He is a Father who refuses to let your destiny be a footnote. The very people who are trying to destroy your story are being used without their knowledge to sharpen you for the chapter they will never get to read. There is a moment in the book of Exodus that carries the exact weight of what you are feeling. The children of Israel stood at the edge of the Red Sea. The Egyptian army was behind them, thundering hooves, iron chariots, the sound of absolute destruction closing in from every direction. The sea was in front of them, impassable, impossibly deep. And in that moment of total impossibility, God spoke through Moses and said, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14:14. Not fight harder, not argue your case louder, not destroy their reputation to save yours. Just be still and watch what I am about to do. Your stillness is not passivity. Your silence is not surrender. Your refusal to retaliate is not weakness. It is the most powerful spiritual posture you can assume in this moment, because every time you resist the urge to fight back on their terms, you are standing aside to give the God of justice room to move. Every time you choose worship over warfare on social media, you are declaring that your defense belongs to someone far more capable than you. God has opened the case. Do not imagine it as a casual administrative review. This is a serious and thorough investigation, the kind that does not miss details, the kind that reviews evidence that no one else has access to. He has seen the moment they made the decision to destroy you. He has seen the exact words they used in rooms where they thought no one divine was listening. He has reviewed the texts sent at 2 a.m. He has heard the whispered conversations designed to isolate you from those who love you. And He has also seen every quiet moment of integrity you chose when the easier path was retaliation. He has seen the times you sat in a room with people who had heard the lies and you chose not to correct the record because correcting the record would have required entering their arena. He has seen the times you prayed for them instead of plotting against them. He has seen you worship when you wanted to weep. He has seen you choose faith when everything around you argued for despair. And all of that is also in the file. The record contains not only their evidence, but yours as well. So hear this today, chosen one. God did not initiate this investigation because he lacked information. He already knows everything. He initiated this investigation for your benefit, so that when the verdict is declared, you will know beyond any shadow of doubt that his justice is thorough, that he left nothing unexamined, and that the vindication coming to you is not a lucky break. It is the conclusion of a process that began the moment you handed the case to him. He is telling you tonight, be still. The battle is not yours. The investigation is underway, and very soon you will see what I see, chosen one. There is a law woven into the fabric of the universe that your ex does not know about, or perhaps they know about it deep in a place they refuse to visit. It is not a human law. It is not a law enforced by courts or social systems that can be manipulated. It is a divine principle that operates with absolute mathematical precision. The scripture names it clearly in Numbers 32:23. Be sure your sin will find you out. Not, be sure your sin might find you out. Not, be sure your sin could, under certain circumstances, find you out. Be sure it will. There is a moment that is coming. Maybe it has already begun. Maybe you have already seen the first small tremors. A conversation that did not go the way they planned. A person they thought was fully on their side who suddenly started asking difficult questions. A screenshot that went somewhere it was not supposed to go. A lie that bumped into someone who knew the truth. The trap is beginning to trigger, not because you did anything to cause it, not because you engineered your own vindication, but because a trap built on lies is always inherently unstable. You cannot build a permanent structure on a foundation of deception. Every single lie requires additional lies to support it, and every additional lie is a new point of structural weakness. Eventually, the structure cannot hold its own weight, and it comes apart not because you fought it, because it was never built to last. Lewis, in The Great Divorce, wrote something deeply prophetic. There are only two kinds of people in the end: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, "In the end, Thy will be done." All that are in hell chose it. Without that self-choice, there could be no hell. Think about what Lewis is saying. The person who chooses to build an identity on accusation, deception, and the destruction of others is choosing a world that operates by those same principles. And in a world that operates by those principles, they will eventually become the victim of those same principles. The accusers become the accused. The conspirators become exposed. The ones who set the trap walk into it themselves. This is what Psalm 37:12, 1:5 captures so vividly. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. The wicked draw the sword and bend the bow to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose ways are upright. But their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. Their swords will pierce their own hearts. The weapons they forged for you will turn. You have already seen versions of this begin to happen. Think about it carefully. The very people your ex called to recruit as witnesses, some of them began to notice the inconsistencies in the story. Some of them began to ask, "But wait, what about the time when that happened?" Some of them quietly distanced themselves from the campaign, not because they came to your defense, but because they could not reconcile the two versions of reality. That is the beginning of the collapse. When the witnesses start to notice the gaps, when the people recruited by the accuser start to see the desperation behind the story, When someone who was once a flying monkey realizes they were being used, and the moment they realize they were used, they become the most dangerous person in the room because they now know the truth about both sides. And God has orchestrated all of this. He has been watching every move, recording every word, tracking every conversation. And at the appointed moment, He will release the truth. Not in your timing, not when you are most frustrated, not when you are most desperate for vindication, but at the moment when it will cause the maximum revelation and the minimum collateral damage. Because He is not only concerned with your vindication, He is concerned with your character. And He knows that if you get your vindication too soon, before you have processed the lessons, before you have grown through the trial, you might use it in a way that costs you more than the wound itself. So He waits, He watches, He gathers, and then He moves. And when He moves, the reversal comes, not as a slow trickle, but as a sudden, overwhelming flood that leaves no room for alternative explanation. The people who listen to the lies will see the evidence. The people who believe the distorted story will encounter the full, unedited truth, and your name will be restored. Not by your effort, not by your PR campaign, not by your screaming into the void, but by the quiet, irresistible, sovereign movement of the God who sees all things. If you believe that this reversal is already in motion, if you can see the first tremors of the collapse in your own situation, comment, "I am free" below. Declare it as prophecy, not just sentiment. Declare it as a statement of what God has already decided, because your freedom is not contingent on their repentance. Your freedom is contingent on your willingness to trust the judge, and He has already ruled. Chosen one, we have come a long way tonight. We have walked through the architecture of the attack. We have looked clearly at the spiritual machinery behind what your ex built. We have sat with the painful question of why God allowed it to go so deep. We have watched the reversal beginning to turn. Now we arrive at the place that matters most. Not the vindication, not the moment when the lies collapse and the truth stands, but who you decide to be right now before any of that happens, because here is the truth that will define whether your vindication blesses you or burns you. Vindication in the hands of a bitter person becomes vengeance. Vindication in the hands of a healed person becomes testimony. God is not only working on your circumstances, He is working on you. He is working on the anger you still carry in your chest at 2 a.m. He is working on the part of you that still fantasizes about the moment their story falls apart publicly. He is working on the wound that still bleeds sometimes when you see certain names or faces. And He is asking you tonight, who do you want to be when they see it? When the truth finally comes out, do you want to be someone who gloats? Or do you want to be someone who grieves for what they became? Because the chosen one does not celebrate the fall of their enemy. The chosen one prays for the soul of the one who tried to destroy them. That is not weakness. That is the deepest form of power. Jesus said in Luke 12:2, "There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. Everything that was done in the dark will come into the light. Every lie crafted in the midnight hours will be seen. Every character assassination will be reversed. But that revelation belongs to God, not to you. Your role is not to expose. Your role is to stand clean, to be found on that day, holding your integrity with both hands. So let us do something powerful together right now. Let us make a declaration, not a declaration of anger, not a declaration of triumph, but a declaration of trust. Repeat after me, if not out loud, then in the quiet of your spirit. I will not use their weapons. I will not build my freedom on their destruction. I release the anger I have been carrying into the hands of the only judge who has full information. I trust that what God has seen, He will address. In His time, in His way, with His wisdom, I will not wait for their apology to begin living. I will not wait for their public shame to start healing. My peace is not dependent on their exposure. My future is not attached to their punishment. I am free, not because the situation changed, but because I have handed it to the one who changes all situations. I am free. And now let us pray together. Close your eyes if you are able. Let this not be a performance. Let this be a conversation between you and the Father, who sees every wound, every night, every tear. Father, you have seen everything, not only what they did, but what it did to me. You saw the nights I could not sleep. You saw the moments I almost believed the lies they told about me. You saw me when I sat alone in my car, crying in a parking lot, unable to walk inside the building. You saw me when I smiled at people while carrying a weight that felt like it might break me. You were there. Father, I confess that I have wanted to fight back. I have wanted to call people and correct the record. I have wanted to post things that would let everyone know the truth. And I understand now that you have a better way. A way that does not cost me my integrity. A way that does not drag me into their arena. So tonight, I hand the case to you completely, not partially and not with one hand while holding on with the other. I ask you to investigate with the thoroughness that only you possess. I ask you to bring the truth into the light in the way that only you can engineer. I trust your timing, even when it is slower than I want, even when I have to walk into rooms where people still believe the lies. I trust you. And for them, Father, I pray for the healing of what broke inside them that made this possible. I do not say that easily. I say it because I want to be free of the bitterness. I say it because you prayed for those who crucified you. And if you could do that, then I can do this. Heal them, Lord, and in the process, finish healing me. In Jesus' name, Amen. Chosen one. You are not defined by what someone said about you in the dark. You are defined by who has spoken over you from before the foundation of the world. You are called, you are covered, you are chosen, and the investigation is already closed in heaven. The verdict has already been declared. Now we wait in peace for the earth to catch up. If this message reached the deepest part of you tonight, if you are ready to hand the case completely to God, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next message we have for you is going to go even deeper. God is not done speaking over your situation, and you do not want to miss what He has to say. We will see you in the next message, Chosen One. Be still and watch God move.